You shouldn't have come here.
Serra, Sindralik's greatest pupil, has come to greet me.
So yeah, enter this chick. I guess somebody wanted a Jedi waifu in the game, and her design looks like it's suspiciously cribbing notes from Knights of the Old Republic's Bastila Shan, but yeah, I don't really know if the Jedi Knight Serra actually has like any specific stuff about her, like in terms of like knowledge or whatever. Because I mean, we're pretty much going for a twofer in terms of boss fights here. One is obviously against Serra, and another of which we'll talk about when we get to it. Again, Serra is one of the playable characters in a two-player mode. Again, like I mean, she has alternate skins, she has fight banter, all that kind of good stuff. So it's pretty much just taking her on, really. And that's the kind of stuff. I mean, really, I'm not really too sure like what it was. I think maybe somebody on the dev team, again, as I said before, and I don't mean this in a very like disingenuous way, but they wanted their Jedi waifu to have a spot in the game, really, because like I mean, I think she is the one original element that, excuse me, that this game contributed in terms of the mythos. So yeah, take that for what you will. The other of which is more of like a passing nod to one of the production crew, but again, we'll see that when we get there. But for the time being, we pretty much just fight our way through the security recordings, and then we go back to the training room, I guess. Because, yeah, we're pretty much going to be going through the training halls where the Jedi train lightsaber techniques, and if you slash some of these recordings, yeah, then you actually get to hear some pretty amusing, if kind of dark and twisted dialogue, because again, they continue the Jedi mantra of, you know, there is no emotion, there is peace, like, a Jedi must always fight for good or whatever, but again, the recordings will cut out and they're basically saying, like, the Jedi Order is avoiding death and pain and darksidedness, because it was funny, tee-hee hoddle ha. But yeah, Serra is really nothing. It's mainly her master that we have to watch out for, and we're gonna be meeting him right about now.
Your favorite student is no more.
Meet Jedi Master Sindralik, who in actuality is in fact production coordinator. Actually no, I believe he was the stunt coordinator Nick Gillard, who worked on all three of the prequels, and I guess as a token of thanks for his work on the movies, yeah, this is his Jedi Master character. With significantly longer hair and, you know, Jedi outfits obviously, but again, his facial model was based on him, and yeah, he's quite possibly one of the more broken characters to use in the two-player fighting mode. Like, seriously, I mean, you're gonna be seeing a bit of it here, but the dude is quick, and he is... Again, he's incredibly skilled. So again, it actually makes for a really fun fight for Anakin to test his lightsaber skills against the Master, really. I'm pretty sure Sindralik has, like, a little bit more mythos, stuff to him, since, again, like, I mean, he is a guy who worked on the movies, and probably has a lot more to do with the at least peripheral material than what Serra would have, if she even has any at all, but, yeah, Sindralik is pretty cool. Or as I like to call him, Jedi Master Nick Gillard. I'll continue as we destroy all the Jedi artifacts from this hallowed time of holocrons and all that good stuff.
There's one lesson you've yet to learn. How to become one with the Force.
I'm no longer the learner. It's your turn now.
And because I can't praise this game enough for its environments and background detail, yeah, again, you also will have, you know, clone troopers occasionally pepper the arena with, you know, explosions and missiles and all that kind of stuff, but holy shit, look at that fucking background detail, man. That is... it is delicious, and I am a sucker for a good sunset, and this looks fantastic. It's a really climactic way to end the fight against Sindralik, and again, you can also use broken bits of the environment to, take yourself down, except for when your opponents use the Force stun move on you, in which case it's, not very fun. Again, much in the same vein as games like, Jedi Outcast and all that kind of stuff, you can use, like, you know, the Force push to kind of, like, dissuade abilities and all that kind of stuff. Rather annoyingly, actually, because again, whenever you wanted to use Force Choke on somebody, they would just Force push you back. Again, that is a way to kind of get out of holds and stuff like that, but yeah, it's You're really going to be fighting when you use that wrestling slam right there. I really don't have much more to say apart from that though. It's a lot of good background detail, a really good fight against a really good Jedi. It'll be a day long remembered. Soon the Republic will fall. And in spite of the fact that he keeps on trying to use fucking Hadouken, Syndraulig will fall just like the rest of them. The bigger the dick, the harder they suck. Why am I feeling very penisy this afternoon?
This will be a day long remembered. Soon the Jedi will be no more.
Time has come. Execute Order 66.
You're too late to help me here, troopers. Head up to the next platform.
I'm sorry, sir. We are no longer required to follow your orders.
What did you say, soldier?
Because we simply can't get enough of Utapau, now we have Obi-Wan's escape, which I mean, I will give it this. It is at least slightly more exciting than the initial levels, but at the same time though, I think this level is a little bit too long for its own good. Because, like, I mean, again, you remember in the movie, like, I mean, Obi-Wan pretty much got his lightsaber back from Commander Cody, rode off into the sunset, and, you know, then Palpatine was doing his whole execute Order 66 before Cody should have been like, sir, I just gave him his lightsaber back. Oh, stinky fish and chips. You fucking moron. Execute Order 63, or whatever the one is for you clone commanders to get killed. I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but the point is, it's slightly more exciting, and basically Obi-Wan and his lizard thing got shot down and fell into the water, where he pretty much stealthed his way out, whereas here he's pretty much actively running from clones. Which is a bit more exciting, if a bit more strenuous, because again, you have yet another sequence of fighting off clones, activating switches, getting through places, and it's exciting, just not terribly interesting. But then again, I think that was more for pacing and the movie's sake, rather than, you know, anything else, because I mean, in the movie it was pretty much just slink away, get back to Grievous' ship, and be kind of thankful that Grievous left the keys inside, because actually, that isn't something I also want to bring up. Like, I mean, you would have thought in the Star Wars universe, like, I mean, even in modern-day Earth, where we have stuff like, you know, car keys and anti-theft protocols, nobody in the Star Wars universe thinks of, like, taking out the car keys, or for their spaceships or whatever, so pretty much anybody can steal it just so long as they press the on button. I don't know, it's weird. Like, I mean, you would have thought they would have had, like, I don't know, bioprints or, like, keycards or something. It's weird. But yeah, another facet of Obi-Wan that he has to dodge throughout this level is also the battle droids. Because again, the clones won't be going after them, they'll just be going squarely after you. I guess the Separatists and the clones have a mutually beneficial alliance, bizarrely. But yeah, I wouldn't say the clones are really too much to worry about. I mean, they do have a few melee attacks, and I would say that they're at least slightly more competent than the basic battle droids from a design standpoint, but yeah, it's really not much different, unless you're facing Jedi opponents, which Obi-Wan doesn't really. I mean, he does have a few beefier enemies and a few mini-bosses to take down, but again, that's just kind of par for the course, really. Yeah, he wouldn't really be facing off against any sort of Jedi opponents until the final mission, actually, so well, again, I guess there is also two-player mode, but again, that's a completely different kettle of fish. Also, a lot of explosive barrels around here, so use that to your advantage if you so choose. There is also some hidden secrets, as you can see with the Bacta tanks. I have no idea why I'm doing a lisp. Maybe it's because I'm bored and have nothing to talk about. Well, I suppose for this vast expanse of gameplay I could probably list my favourite Star Wars movies from best to worst, I guess. You know, just have a little 5-minute task where we find fuck all to talk about. Again, I mentioned beforehand that my number one is and always will be The Empire Strikes Back. Really because, again, it's a fantastic film. I'm really not sure what to say, because, like, it's a movie that practically everybody has seen, but And I can't really think of a reason why, actually, besides, you know, the obvious. I mean, it's... I really should have thought about this a lot better, actually, so, yeah, maybe I might just nix that. Yeah, you were also fighting the earlier versions of the AT-ST, I believe they're called, which you actually get to pilot in the Jedi Outcast game, which is quite fun. So now I need to figure out what else I'm going to talk about. I mean, I think I might have brought it up before, but like, I mean, I really would have loved to have seen a level in Kashyyyk. I mean, I know The Force Unleashed kinda did something similar to that, but, I don't know, like something where you're playing as Master Yoda, which, I mean, you can do in this game. Something I'm actually going to be showing, I believe, in the next part, actually. So, yeah, why couldn't we have a level with Yoda and Kashyyyk? It would have been pretty cool. Nice naturalistic setting, you would have teamed up with Wookiees, and, which would have been sweet, because we get to see Chewie, whose role in Revenge of the Sith is actually kind of, short-lived, really. Like, I mean, he shows up for a little bit, he teams up with Yoda, and that's practically about it. I mean, that was initially going to be a segment, I believe, something that Lucas himself cut out with, where Chewie would have met, like, a young Han Solo at that point, but, yeah, they kind of cut that out. I guess for the previously established backstory, where Han was pretty much like an Imperial officer, had doubts about enslaving the Wookiees and pretty much held them escape and ran off with Chewbacca to do a smuggling thing. I don't know. I can't even mind if the backstory was changed, because I mean, I do know that the Han Solo movie was the thing, but I haven't seen it. I heard very mixed things about it though, like I mean, I've heard some people like it, some people don't, so I really don't know what to make of it, really. And of course, yes, this is where the annoyance of the jetpack troopers really begin to rear their ugly heads, and also not helping matters is when you get attacked by that little Walker's charge thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw a similar attack to that in Sonic CD, and it wasn't anywhere near as annoying. So maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi could have teamed up with Sonic. But he ain't, because he's a Jedi, and Jedi don't do anthropomorphic characters. And we also saw one of those, like, cool little droid fighter things that appeared in the opening of the movie. But yeah, this is, I think this level is also kind of a factor of the fact that they tend to throw, like, a lot of the beefier enemies at you and basically have you go through sort of a gauntlet to try and survive, which again, I guess was intentional because, again, this planet is filled to the brim with clones. But again, at the same time, where the hell were all these beefy units when the Trade Federation was, like, fucking all over the shop, and why are they so competent now when trying to hunt Obi-Wan, compared to when they were trying to stop the droids? It's, I don't know, kind of like a weird inverse of, like, the inverse ninja theory, where somebody alone is a lot more powerful than people in a group. But, I don't know. And again, that's gonna get really fucking annoying, which I guess is why they put the barrels everywhere. Although a really cool thing actually is that you can actually have some really cool like de-limbing damage going on. Like, I mean, if you go up to the jetpack troopers, you can cut off one of their limbs, and that is quite cool. I always like it when Star Wars games allow you to de-limb opponents, which is fun. I mean, again, you're not going to be seeing blood or anything because, you know, the lightsaber pretty much cauterizes the wound immediately after, you know, severing it. Well, except for that one scene in Episode 4, like, right in the bar scene where Obi-Wan cuts off, like, that pig-noses dude's, like, arm or whatever, and there's, like, blood. Which is a bit of an early installment weirdness kind of thing. Actually, going back to that, because, again, I was watching Episode 4 quite recently, actually. I noticed, like, a lot of the costumes in the bar scene, like, I mean, I know Episode 4 was probably on a much lower budget than most other Star Wars movies, but, looking back at that, if you really pay attention to some of the costume design, like, it is quite obvious that they kind of had, like, very makeshift costumes. Like, very terrestrial, Earth-based kind of stuff that they probably got from a Halloween shop. Because, like, I mean, I saw, like, a Earth-based gas mask, I saw a pretty obvious devil guy that I'm pretty sure was retconned to be some species, and, yeah, it's quite funny how they had to, like, make up their own context for that sort of stuff, but, yeah, I think it is a testament to both the original trilogy and even the prequels, honestly, that, again, a lot of their set design has been really inspired and made, like, a lot of these elements feel very distinctive, which, again, really I think helped with, like, a lot of its low budget and really managed to make it look as impressive as it did for the time periods they came out. Because, I mean, I said this at the beginning of the commentary, like, I mean, even though people are very quick to criticize the prequels for the overuse of CG and all that kind of stuff, Revenge of the Sith has kind of held up remarkably well. Like, I mean, it's probably not a patch on movies, like, nowadays in terms of what they can do with CG and making it blend better with, like, you know, the environment and characters, but Episode 3 does a really good job of it. I'd say even today, so yeah, make of that what you will. Although then again, I suppose you could technically excuse episode 1 since it was technically still made in the 90s, which was still very early days in regards to CG. Episode 2 though doesn't really have that sort of excuse, because, you know, 2002 and all that. But, anyway. Don't really have much else to say because these clone voices are really distracting me. I can't remember who voices them in this game, but, yeah. I mean, you do get a lot more gauntlets like this later on in the game, just, I guess, maybe as a means of challenge. But I don't know, it's, kind of pish, to be honest. Although, I do believe right after this segment we are actually getting to possibly the biggest encounter of this level. And I'd say one of the highlights, even if this level is kind of lengthy as it is, and this just adds yet another layer of length to it. Because, yes, we are actually going to be taking down one of these gunship things, though that we actually get to fly in the original PS2 Battlefront games. Well, that didn't take long, so apart from Empire Strikes Back being my favourite, again, Revenge of the Sith is obviously the other one. After that would be A New Hope, which, again, for obvious reasons, a movie that, even in spite of its age, as I was talking about earlier, has held up remarkably well. Mainly thanks to its story, but, like, also I think really thanks to its impressive visual design. And again, like, I mean, even watching episode 4 today, like, I mean, it's the sort of movie which I feel, like, regardless of time period, it has this sort of timeless kind of quality to it. I think mainly in thanks to its storytelling, but I don't know, episode 4 is just the sort of movie that I feel like you could kind of show anybody of any age, and it's just as enjoyable, really. So, yeah, that's kind of why it's my third favourite. Return of the Jedi comes right after that. Like, I mean, there are a lot of pacing issues I have with Return of the Jedi, as well as some, you know, extraneous elements. Ewoks, cough cough, sneeze sneeze. As well as I think the opening scene kind of taking a little bit too long to explain the whole, oh, what if Harrison Ford doesn't come back? Kind of plot thing that could easily be kind of hand-waved away with, I think, a much shorter scene than what we actually got. Although, then again, I suppose it does also sort of, like, pace itself out by the fact that we get to see Luke do some cool Jedi shit, so whatever, I guess. But again, I do generally like Return of the Jedi for being like a nice conclusion to the original trilogy, ending everything on a triumphant note and having a very optimistic tone compared to all the depression and death of Empire Strikes Back. So again, it ends it quite nicely. Then of course will be Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which I think is a little bit poorly paced. There are elements that I do like about it, but again, I kind of think it has, like, it kind of goes from, you know, action, political, action, political, action, political. Awesome pod race scene, Darth Maul fight, then action, political, action, political. With, like, a lot of the elements that people generally criticize Episode 1 for. I mean, I will still say that I do generally like it if I turn most of my brain off, but I don't know. There are a lot of elements about Episode 1 that really don't work. Episode 2, however, is, I'd say probably still my least favorite, but again, that's only really because I feel like it's the most lopsided in terms of all of its elements. Like, I mean, there are a few cool bits here and there, but it's also front-loaded with a lot of Anakin whining, a lot of, like, awkward dialogue and romance shit, and then Obi-Wan playing, like, Jedi CSI on Kamino and whatever, and I think a lot of the fight choreography in Episode 2 is also a little bit pish, because, like, I mean, it is also famously known as the movie with, like, the most amount of lightsabers on screen, and oh boy, you'll go blind pretty fucking quickly, especially when you witness the scene where Anakin fights Count Dooku in that very dark room where I nearly went blind. So, yeah, be careful. And we're still on it. It's a bit of a tedious fight because, well, again, it'll pretty much just fire lasers, it'll drop down after a little bit. And now it's finally gone. Whoopee. I mean, we are getting towards the end, so again, don't fret about this being excessively long. We just have another 5 minutes of stuff, not counting the cutscene where I can finally shut up. Actually, no, I don't get to shut up, because again, it's pretty much movie footage after that. Oh, even, Maven, so 26 minutes. We can do this. Yeah, you're kind of a dire straits at this point, because again, they do throw a fair bit of shit at you and expect you to be able to handle it, so, yeah, waiting for your force to rejuvenate can be a bit of a pickle. And again, it also doesn't help the fact that you also have clones just trying to pip you. God damn it. Yeah, lightsaber crystals don't really help when I could use some health. And I mean, even though you do have like the force heal ability, you can kind of find yourself getting a bit screwed over though. Yeah, so I suppose what other Star Warsian tangents do I have at the moment? Well, I mean, I suppose there is also the Knights of the Old Republic remake that's coming out at some point, I believe, either this year or next year. And it's for current generation consoles with the PS5 and I think eventually the Xbox Series X, so I'm kind of shut out of luck until I get one of those consoles, which probably won't be for a while if current sales are to be believed, because I'm sure as hell not going to go through fucking scalpers and all that sort of shit. And really, I don't fucking need it at this point, so heck, I mean, I've still got my PC copies of the game, but then again, would be nice if they could sell the original on consoles again. I mean, they did it for the Nintendo Switch, so like, why not for the Xbox One or PS4? Seems like a bit of an ill-advised move, in my opinion. I mean, I suppose there is also, like, other sort of Star Wars games I guess I could also cover. Like, I mean, I did re-release Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy, actually, which are quite nostalgic games to my childhood. Also Jedi Outcast, actually, because, again, as I'm sure many people have probably heard, that was the first video game I ever played in my life, and if it wasn't for that game, I probably wouldn't be here. Actually, no, I wouldn't be here today. I'd be doing more useful things with my life, like attempting suicide or planting trees. So goodness knows what I'd be up to if I wasn't doing this shit. And don't worry, we are at the final segment before we can finally stop talking and getting to the end of the shit. Not today, boys. Obi-Wan is going to say goodbye. As we ride atop this little, truck thing. This is pretty much the final gauntlet. It's pretty much like an elevator sequence, just, with turrets and things continuing to try and shoot you, because of course. I mean, I suppose, and again, I think, I've brought it up before, but again, the biggest problem with the Utapau segments is that, again, like, a lot of what you're doing as Obi-Wan is very basic stuff that, again, I think works for a movie, a little bit less so for a video game, where I think plot per distance traveled is continuing to be affected. I mean, again, most video games usually do still have the whole concept of, you know, Obi-Wan beats up bad guys and make your way through, but there's usually at least a little bit more interesting contextual stuff to talk about, really, so, yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose I could talk about the clone troopers themselves, particularly with Commander Cody, one of the named soldiers under Obi-Wan's command. Yeah, because, again, as you'll probably be seeing throughout, like, the Clone Wars Season 7, and I think, like, a couple of other bits of media, I think it's actually covered more on Battlefront, actually, with, one of the Jedi Masters who, like, the clone troopers were good at shooting is, like, I think the exact turn of phrase was, like, it's a good thing we were wearing helmets because none of us could look her in the eyes as we shot her down. But yeah, Commander Cody was all too happy to eliminate Obi-Wan. In fact, his only regret was, you could have given me that order before I gave his bloody lightsaber back. So yeah, some clones were happy to give the order, others were a little bit more hesitant, and the rest were just sort of like, fuck it, time to die, Jedi, brew, haha, 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 stinky fish and chips, Maori, Middle Zealand, whatever. I mean, really, just go all out with your force powers at this point. It's probably more beneficial to you to just push them off with your force powers than it is to go on and slash them with your lightsaber. Whee! Although I will say though, like, I mean, again, I've continued to say this time and time again, like, I mean, the impressive amount of background detail in this game is immaculate. Like, I mean, the fact that you can continue to see battles, like, I mean, it's... Again, like, I mean, late 6th generation consoles really did their best to really push the hardware to the best of its ability, and... I don't know, I'm really impressed at developers for who really trying to push the boundaries here. I mean, there were some that did get a little bit lazy from time to time, but... I don't know. I'm really impressed with this generation of games. That's something I'm gonna sing until the day I die. But alas, now we are finally finished. So, yeah, apparently they lose sight of Obi-Wan, even though he was running amok among their forces, and now he pretty much runs back to General Grievous's ship and takes off. because apparently he left the keys inside, even though this wasn't where Grievous ended up to begin with, and the environment's kind of different. So I guess maybe the artist had like a very different like conceptualization for making the game versus the movie, I suppose. But anyway, this is pretty much where everything goes to hell in a handbasket, and we get a look at Bail Organa's like very Flash Gordon-esque supervillain costume when Obi-Wan contacts him. Seriously, man, he looks like he's gonna conquer the galaxy with that. Well, I mean, it is shortly before the Senate scene, so, guess that kinda makes sense. But on that note, I'm Solidus-Skully, take care, and, keep it sleazy, dudes.
There's no